Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Reynolds, and I'm here with my good friend Sam Johnson,
Hello.
and we're going to be talking about Ben Platt performing Temporary Love. Here we go.
Here we go.
You're afraid to need someone, 'cause you've been burned, you've been burned, you've been burned. Love is good until it's gone. That's what you learn, what you learn, what you learn. You don't have to hide your love away, and I know that I'm gonna make mistakes, but leaning on somebody isn't easy. I'll do what I can to make you see that this is not a temporary love. This is not a temporary love. Now your heart is in my hands, I won't give it all. This is not a temporary love. You may
I like this so far. His voice sounds really easy.
Yeah, it does. You know, it sounds really easy. The thing, every time I watch Ben Platt sing, I just feel like my heartstrings are tugged just from watching with him. I don't know. There's something just so sympathetic about him. I think part of it is his body language. Part of it is his face is just so genuine. I don't see. It just seems like it's so open.
Yeah.
And it's just so genuine.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any like nervous performer. It just looks like this vulnerable guy. You know.
And I don't know what this song is from. Do you know what Temporary Love is from? Is it an original or?
I don't.
I have no idea. Like, I don't know the origin of the song or anything. It's kind of looking like it might be part of a show just based on like how it's all set up. But even if this was a pop song, you can see so many ways that his musical theater experience have affected the way that he performs everywhere that he goes, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's kind of tough to say too. You know, if you're watching him do music theater, how much of his music theater is just who he is, and how much is his training in his music theater, and how much. Same thing here. You know, how much is the music theater informing, and how much is that's just who Ben is.
Exactly. Have you seen some of his older videos of him before he started doing the Dear Evan Hansen?
No, you know, I think like most people, I think I started really watching him with Dear Evan Hansen, and I've watched a lot of his videos after that, but no, not any of the early ones. That would be interesting to see.
He has made a lot of progress. Like, I go listen to him back then and now. I'm not going to say it's like two different voices, but it's really cool to see the progress that he has made.
Every time I watch him, I notice how much he kind of sticks his head out, like in terms of like normal classical posture, right? Where we want that neck and chin and everything lined up. He really likes to kind of crane his neck forward. And I don't know what to think about it, because on one side, what I'm hearing you're saying is it just sounds really easy, especially he gets up on the higher notes. He's not pushing at it. He's just he's keeping it really easy and consistent.
And that's up to the A flat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but at the same time, I'm watching, I'm like, is there tension creeping in because of where his neck's at? And, you know, is there some bulging, some tension there because of pressurization? Or is that just it? Or I don't know. You know, it's a big question mark in my head as I watch him.
It could also just be kind of his biology. Like, I know for me, I'm much more comfortable when my head is out just a little bit rather than when I come back. And a lot of times when teachers have tried to work on, you know, noble posture and making sure that everything is lined up, it's just felt unbelievably tight in my neck. And then as soon as I let it kind of relax forward, it feels a lot better. And I've also had a teacher in ENT talk to me about raising the head a little bit. Like, it is a thing that some people teach.
Right.
Just I don't know. It might also be creating a little bit of tension, which is giving him some of the style, some of the tone that we're hearing in his voice, because it doesn't sound, you know, super clean, clear, like it is the most optimized singing I've ever heard. But it sounds really easy for him, and it sounds like him.
Yeah.
So some of that tension, I think, is actually serving him, if there is any.
And I think what you're saying there earlier brings up a really important point, and that's that we're dealing with the human body, and not every single human body is meant to be in the same place. I mean, I've worked with people with really serious scoliosis. Yeah, when the spine's curved in not the best way, or there's other problems that make it so it's actually painful or causes more tension to try to line it up in the right way, you know? And I think what you're saying there is trying to find what is going to be the easiest, most tension-free way for you to perform is really, really an important point.
Because everyone's a little different, and that's why I really do advocate for going more based on what things feel like, because if something feels really easy and free to you, that's probably going to be able to develop into a sound that is stylistically appropriate also.
Yeah.
Where if you're starting things, if you're so concerned with posture that you're creating all of this shoulder and neck tension, you're going to have to remove all of that down the line. So why start with it?
Yeah. No.
It's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart way to look at it.
I think I know the difference, but I do, but I do, but I do. I feel the gravity between us.
That sounds so easy.
Oh yeah, it does.
And you can too, you can too, you can too.
Yeah, he lets it thin out and get so
We
small
don't have to
there.
hide.
Did you? So a lot of times people are. They think that when they go to high notes, they need to open everything up and create a ton of backspace and everything. When he went to that highest note, I didn't hear any of that, and it sounded unbelievably easy. That was up to the C5.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you watch a lot of these performances, and you watch him even in Dear Evan Hansen and other places, it doesn't mean going huge on those top notes. It really is whiny and thin and small up on top. And in fact,
he's carrying a microphone, and the microphone is this far away from his lips. Like he doesn't need to work to get these sounds.
Right. Well, and even if we're talking like classically, you know, I remember working with a really famous and experienced tenor, and he was saying, you know, the E vowel is really where those high notes need to live for a tenor. And so same thing, and that doesn't require the front of the jaw to be open super wide, you know. So I do, you know, there's a lot of people, and I've been talking about this in a lot of my videos recently, where they equate higher with harder, or higher with more open, or higher with just more of something, when in fact when it works well, it's not.
Yeah, it's balanced, and it makes sense connected to the rest of the picture rather than having to change everything just for these high notes.
Right.
I love away. Both of us are gonna make mistakes, 'cause leaning on somebody's never easy. But look at me and tell me you don't see that this is not a temporary love. No, this is not a temporary love. Now your heart is in my hands, I won't give it up. This is not a temporary love.
This is some good singing. That's the first time that it sounded like it fell back a little bit. And he obviously did it on purpose to make it sound more like that choir voice. But, wow.
It's an excellent voice. It's so expressive. Even though it's really consistent, he's giving us a lot of different colors and emotions in both his face, his body, and the sound. I mean, it is. I mean, there's a reason why people love listening to him and watching him perform. I do. I think it's exceptional. Something that my eyes were drawn to, it's interesting because they were drawn to the same thing when we did the last BTS video, was his feet. There are moments when I'm watching where his feet feel like they're really sluggish. And then there's other times when he's picking them up and he's dancing, they're just fine. And, you know, something that's kind of different between music theater and pop sometimes is how the body moves and interacts with the music. And when he's in a character, I can... You know, especially Dear Evan Hansen, his body does carry a lot of tension. And I wonder if there's moments here, because I was trying to pay attention, is that sluggishness or tension tied to a pitch or to an emotion, you know? And to me, as I'm watching him, it seems more tied to the emotion than the pitch, which tells me it's part of a character choice, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just a really interesting thing to watch, that some of those character choices he's making are influencing his body and how much tension is in that body, for better or for worse.
But he's also moving all the time. It's kind of, sometimes it looks like that nervous swaying that some people do, but the way that he carries himself through the whole thing makes me know, like, he's not nervous. This isn't a nervous swaying. If it is that, it's there on purpose. You know, he wants to look a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
But through all of that movement, I think is helping him not engage these big muscles to try to assist those higher pitches.
Yeah.
So if I was working with him, like, we need to figure out how to continue sounding like he does, if there's anything that's weird about it. But like how he's singing, I don't think there's too much that we need to fix or change to like make it more sustainable. He's proven that he can do some of the hardest singing 8 shows a week, like just physically exhausting, all of that. And you have to have good technique to be able to do that, or else you're going to be canceling half your shows. Yeah,
well, on top of that, doing like morning TV shows, late night shows. I mean, he's on shows left and right, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really, you know, there can always be arguments about what's right or wrong, but really what we need to look for are who are the people who can do it day in, day out and keep it sustainable and viable. And rather than judging, well, they're not doing it right, they're doing good, they're doing bad, they're not doing it how I think it should be done, just learning how do they do it, just period. Mm-hmm. And learning from that. So I think that's exceptional. If it was me and he walked into my studio, I probably wouldn't want to mess with his voice a whole lot, other than I'd really want to talk him through what he's doing with his body and character work, you know?
And just make sure that what he's experiencing with his voice is connected to that character work.
Yeah, well, just to make sure that he's not just letting his body go on autopilot and trusting it to communicate whatever he's feeling, because I think there is so much past character muscle memory invested in his body. But just to make sure that it's really the look he's giving and showing us is really what he intends. Because it's so hard to break out of that muscle memory and really let our body inhabit a completely different style, feeling, character in a moment, you know? So
absolutely. And I think that's some of the reason why it's always a little bit weird watching classical singers who make their money singing classical sing pop music.
Yeah.
It's hard to let go of all of that. And that's why you find that so many of these people who are great singers, they become ultra specialized and they only sing like the same.
Right.
They stick within the same genre as much as they can, just because it's hard to switch between all of these things.
Yeah.
The body holds on to the coordinations that we're working, and it doesn't want to let go of them.
Right. Well, and I think part of it too is we get trapped in the idea of a right or wrong way to do it. We get so indoctrinated in one style that we don't necessarily think about the underlying principles that apply to all styles. And we don't necessarily, you know, a lot of these people, if you're singing 8 shows a week and you're doing late night shows and memorizing and doing other stuff and whatever, you don't really have time to invest in a whole lot of exploration. Probably just like you, I've worked with a lot of different teachers who they feel really comfortable in one particular style or genre, but if you push them into a different style, a lot of them don't even want to go there because it's just not part of their dialogue and not part of where they want to go. They know how to help someone sing in this one particular style, but once you get out of that, it starts getting a little uncomfortable.
But when you're starting training, if you look more at those commonalities that connect all of the styles rather than immediately going to, you know, style specific training, it lays the foundation so that you can be so much more flexible of a performer as you get better. Yeah,
well, and I think it keeps more doors open too, right? If you can sing music theater, pop, opera, and whatever, and then you just take whatever sticks, whatever opportunities come first, and you know how to go in between. And then if you decide to really specialize and that's just where all the gigs are coming from, sweet, do that. I think in the early learning stages, finding a teacher, finding ways to really explore as many genres, styles, and vocal techniques as possible to really keep as many doors open as possible is really, really important.
Absolutely.
This is not a temporary love. This is not a temporary love.
It's a little bit back, but it
Now
sounds
my heart
connected.
is in your hands.
Yeah.
Please don't
Well, it's just a
give
softer
it up.
placement.
This is not a temporary love.
Nice transition.
This is not a temporary love. This is not a temporary love. Now my heart is in your hands. Please don't give it up. This is not a temporary love.
It's interesting when he goes to the higher notes, he's letting it be just blatantly whiny and forward, and it doesn't sound like he's concerned at all with trying to like create that chiaroscuro and add in any of the oscuro. But as soon as he starts coming down, he's rounding his mouth. He's making it more of a love as he starts going down, which reminds me a lot of like one of the first things that you actually said to me in one of our lessons was talking about the harmonics as you start going higher versus lower.
Right.
And he's doing the same thing that you kind of advised me for classical singing, of letting it be that brighter, easier sound up at the top, and then you get more of the style by rounding it as you start coming back down.
Yeah, and you're right. That's exactly what he's doing. He's modifying his bottom more towards an sound. Not my favorite, but who cares? It's working for him. It's gorgeous. If I was working with an early singer, I'd kind of shy away from that because there's some really easy pitfalls into letting that soft palate collapse. But he's still keeping it energized, and it's wow. Whew.
Mm-hmm. And it also is giving nice contrast to that sort of tone color palette that you get up at the top when you contrast that with like a darker, rounder sound at the bottom.
Yeah, well, and he's still kind of keeping the forwardness, the ring in it when he pulls down. He does add that kind of chiaroscuro on the bottom, so it doesn't sound like we're totally changing voices. It still sounds consistent. But man, frankly, I'm having a really hard time paying attention to his voice because I'm so drawn into what he's doing acting wise.
That he's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, well, and it's so easy to hear. There's nothing that he's singing or doing that's like, oh, that's bad. He shouldn't do that. It's just like, it's just a glorious sound to hear, and which is again a sign to me of really good singing is when we forget that they're even singing. It just all becomes a part of storytelling. Random little question I have here for the fans out there of Ben Platt. Do any of you know if he has collapsed foot arches? When he's stepping around here, it looks like he does. It looks like his ankles are rolling down into the floor. And if so, that might be why his feet look kind of heavy, especially when they're side by side. Anyways, just a strange observation that I'm wondering about.
Yeah, I have no idea. Let us know.
Yeah.
This is not.
His runs are really cool too.
Oh, they're so easy.
That's the end. Like his runs are another thing that show off just how balanced his voice is, because if you have too much grab, it's not going to be able to get the agility to go as quickly as he's going.
If you're wondering like how do I get my runs easier, one of the pitfalls for runs all together with people are feeling like they need to articulate each specific note and put equal weight on each note. And if you'll see what he's doing here, that's not what he's doing. He'll accent certain notes in the run, but really, really pull off the rest and let them be the ornamentation they are and not the accented parts of the song
that kind of goes for all singing too, is like,
yeah,
not every word is important. Not everything matters as much as something else when you're singing. And if you can learn which things aren't important, both harmonically that you don't need to bring out, or lyrically if you're emphasizing a "the" at the end of a sentence, like why? It's not important. And it's the same thing that he's doing, is just choosing the most important things, making sure that they're hit, and then letting the other things exist, but like more flow through to the next important thing.
Oh, totally. I'm with you 100%. And the other way I like to think about it is, rather than thinking of musicality and accenting a word as doing more on the important word, for most people it's actually helpful to think just to do less on the unimportant words. That musicality is more about doing less than about doing more. Oh, he's so nice. So beautiful. So thanks so much for coming on, Sam. It was really fun to watch him here. And Ben Platt is just so exciting to watch and to listen to. So many things to learn and so many different ideas to explore. And it's been wonderful to have you join us.
I always love recording with you. It's a blast, and I love it. If you want to check me out, go search Sam Johnson in the search bar and find me.
Yeah, you can also go to vocalease.net and sign up for a lesson. And you can also check me out at mrperformingartsstudio.com, or again, type in Dr. Marc Reynolds and it'll pull me up out here as well. So that was dumb. Why did I need to introduce myself? I'm on my own channel. We look forward to working with you online.
Thank you.
Bye.